Thumbnail is awesome. What's up, Carson? What's up, man? Thank you. Honestly, it was just a quick screenshot that I just had. I just said, you know what? I'm going to do something random. I'm just going to pick whatever image I see in my gallery. That's whatever I'm going to use. And that image of Cable with Jean and Cyclops is like perfect, which kind of get into that. I am going to do a separate stream talking about the X-Men 97 trailer. I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about it tonight, but this is a bit of a late night stream. I decided to kind of do a bit of a late night stream, which I might do on occasion sometimes when I'm kind of in the mood. I don't know. If you guys like more late night streams, let me know. And I could probably set that up. But one of the big things that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to return to going live every Wednesday. Now, for those of you who have been around on the channel for a good amount of time, you guys are aware that I used to go live a lot on Wednesday nights. And I stopped doing it because personal reasons. And to be quite honest with you, and transparent, I lost focus of my channel. I've been, lost in focus in life, and I'm trying to regain my focus. And it has been a difficult time. I don't want to try to harp on too much, but I will say this. Regardless of the things that I go through in my life, regardless of the things that I've been through with people and situations and things that may not have worked out, regardless of that, I'm still here. By the grace of God, I'm still here and I'm still doing the thing, and I don't plan on leaving. I'll be honest with you, I've had times where I wanted to quit, but I need to find my focus again. So, all of this is really just me trying to find my focus ever so slowly, once again, because I believe that it's within me. It's there, but I'm just lost at the moment, and I just need to crawl my way back up. Perfect Peace, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. I know this is a bit of a late night stream, but I kind of just wanted to talk with you guys. I haven't seen all of you in a while, and I know there's been so much that's been out. X-Men 97 trailer, Spider Man Brand New Day apparently getting a second trailer sometime soon. We've gotten a ton of images on that. So there's just been so much that has been in the space as of lately. So I'm definitely aware of what's going on, and I hate that I've been leaving you guys in the dark. But if you guys are new and just coming in, I am going to try to bring back my Wednesday live streams. I would always do, Wednesdays live at 5. That was my segment on Wednesday nights. So I'm going to bring that back. So we're going to talk about things, but I am going to talk about X-Men 97 Season 2 a little bit in here. But we're also going to have a separate stream tomorrow night where we can get a little bit more into the discussion of X-Men 97, the trailer, you guys' thoughts, how you guys feel about Season 2. Are you guys excited? All of that. We're going to get back into it because I miss having these conversations with you guys, quite honestly. I feel like live streams is where I can really get into my bag and really like get into my craft. So if I can just get back into doing that again, I'm gonna be full straight ahead. We're gonna be good. So yeah, I appreciate everybody that's here right now. I'm gonna get into the comments. Keith, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Anthony, how are you doing, my friend? It's been a while. You're excited for season 2. I am so excited for X-Men 97 season 2. I mean, that trailer, I've seen that trailer so many times. I've dissected, I've looked at every frame, every detail. I mean, it's just like, I'm just excited for season 2. Like, I'm so glad the X-Men are back. Inked, I'm sorry. I didn't see your comment. I'm really sorry. Hey, how are you doing? I hope you're doing good. I'm sorry about ignoring your comment. I literally didn't see it. Let me check and make sure that it doesn't oh, it doesn't show up though. At least on here it didn't show up. But if you did, I'm so sorry that I missed your comment. But yeah, less about me, more about you guys. Like, what are you guys looking forward to? It could be shows, it could be movies. We have a lot of great movies coming up in the next couple of months. The summer is going to be packed. We got X Men 97 July 1st. We just had Spider Noir, which I haven't finished Spider Noir yet. I'm still halfway through, but I am really enjoying it. I've kind of not been binging it all the way through. Like, I've tried to kind of just savor the show, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing so far. So, if you guys want me to do a review or maybe talk or do a live stream about Spider Noir, let me know. I would love to talk more about my thoughts, what I liked about the show, what I would like to see if they want to continue doing this with seasons, maybe other Spider Verse characters that they could do, shows for. I think would be a really cool discussion to have, on a live stream. There's a lot of things we could really talk about. Masters of the Universe that comes out next week. The Michael movie is still doing really good in the movies right now. That movie's gonna shoot to a billion, 100%. Obsession, I've been hearing Obsession is really good. That's one of the hot movies right now. I know Backrooms is another movie that's like really, really in the motion right now. So a lot of great cinema that's been coming out, towards the span of March, April, and now we're at the tail end of May, getting into June and then July. So the summer is packed. Like the summer is packed, and the games. One thing about me is I love video games. I love talking about video games. And with the state of play coming up next week, oh my goodness, we're gonna get a new look at Wolverine and whatever other announcements that Sony may have at this event. I'm just very excited to see what they do. And this state of play is a big thing because I don't think Sony's ever done, at least in the past couple of years, since maybe the bigger showcase they had, maybe what, 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. I'm sure someone who can correct me on that, but they had the theater events that you could go to and experience with other fans, things like that. Well, they're doing that this time, and obviously they had one at the Alamo Draft House, which there is one in my state, but it's kind of far a ways away, and it's on a weekday, so it wouldn't have worked out. But if anyone did go to that event, let me know what it was like, what was the experience, because I love hearing about things like that and stories like that. So this week is exciting. I mean, 007 First Light came out. I've been watching the game. Rad Brad, that's my guy. I love watching the Rad Brad. The Professional as well, really cool. I've just been watching a lot of people playing 007 First Light. I'm enjoying it. Lego Batman, I've been watching every playthrough of that. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing of Lego Batman. And it's just a really fun time. Like, there's so much for movies, games, comic books, TV. Music is kind of not there right now. Um, though to be honest, my playlist has just been full of Michael Jackson songs because even after the biopic, I've just been on a Michael Jackson run. I've been on a Stevie Wonder run, a Prince run, just like a lot of great, throwback artists from back in the day that I grew up with. I had parents that put me onto all of that music. So it kind of brought me back to just being a kid again and listening to those songs for the first time. So that's kind of where I've been musically. As far as that, I'm not a Drake fan. I know he put out 3 albums. I guess, if you're a Drake fan, hey, that's cool, but I'm not a Drake fan, so I don't really have any, input when it comes to that. But it's cool, for the Drake fans that he gave y'all, triple the amount of music. But again, like I said, I've just been so into a lot of the throwback old school classic music and stuff, that I just don't really have any new music that I'm venturing into at the moment. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what's been going on with me and my thoughts of just this year alone. and kind of what it's been like. So I want to know, what are y'all up to? Ah man, Pandatron, what's up, man? Thank you for the $15. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate you coming through, man. You've always been supportive as long as I've known you, and I've been watching your streams, when I can, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. Like I'm really proud of you and the community that you're building. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. And I can't wait to see what you do next. So yeah, Anthony, I think you said I'm up to episode 4 of Noir. Yeah, yeah, I'm like halfway through this series, so like I said, I'm just trying to like savor all of it. Like I'm not trying to watch it all at the same time. I'm trying to like dissect certain things. I One thing that you'll learn about me when it comes to like movies and stuff is like I like to watch movies like a couple times because I want to try to get like things I didn't catch the first time, things I didn't know the first time. So it's really cool when you sit down, and especially like movies that you grew up with, and now that you're an adult, there's jokes in there that they have. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't catch that as a kid because as a kid you don't really catch a lot of the jokes that are in some of the movies and stuff. But now that you're an adult, it's like, okay, wow, they really put that in there. Oh, that was clever how they put that in there. So yeah, I just there's always something new that you can learn from just watching movies, TV shows, stuff like that in general. I think it's dope. So yeah. But does anybody have like any cool things that they got going on, maybe plans for the summer? I don't really have too many plans for the summer. I'm just kind of chilling, I'm kind of chilling. I'm kind of just taking it easy and just kind of see where it goes. I'm just let the chips fall where they may. So whatever happens, good, of course, nothing crazy. But whatever happens, in a good way, I'm just seeing where it goes. So yeah. Did you see Mortal Kombat 2? I haven't seen it yet. I want to go see it, but I haven't. I just haven't seen it yet. I've heard people are kind of mixed on it. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I need to see it just to kind of see the first movie. The first movie obviously had some flaws, and I think a lot of it has to do with production and the timing of the film. I think too had a lot to do with what was going on with the first film. But it seems like with the second film, they did improve on some things, which is always a good thing. You always want to try to improve on things when you do a second film. So I'm gonna try to check it out. If I don't get a chance to see it on, on the big screen, I might wait until it comes out on streaming. So I'll probably check it out then and maybe give my thoughts there. Only saw the second one. Haven't seen the first. I didn't hate two. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been hearing. I've been hearing people. It's kind of like oh wow, this was like a leg up from one, and then there's people who are kind of like it could have been better. So I've kind of been hearing like different things from different people as far as like their thoughts on the film. So again, it's gonna be interesting when I do finally get a chance to watch it, and I'll definitely give if you want to hear my thoughts on it, I'll definitely let you know what I thought about it. I'm really curious about Street Fighter. That is a movie right there that I saw the trailer for Street Fighter and I was like, this is so campy, and it's like obviously they do a lot of the references that they do in the games with like the beating up the cars and stuff like that. I've heard it's kind of Scott Pilgrim esque the way they do certain effects and things within the movie. From what I've heard, I don't know if that's true. It'd be interesting if it is, because I do like the Scott Pilgrim movie. And I always tell people, like, I feel like if the Scott Pilgrim movie had came out around this time, I think it would have been a major hit. But because of video game movies at the time weren't really, they were there, but they were kind of more like, it was kind of more like this niche thing, because there had been so many other video game adaptations before then that just didn't really stick the landing. To like, now you have Sonic, you have Mario, you have MK, you have, all of these different, video games. And still, even right now, I'm sure there's plenty of, video game adaptations and things. I even saw like Crash Bandicoot might be getting some kind of like animated series and stuff. So, there's so many different games that they could do all different kinds of movies and TV shows and stuff for. So it's just going to be really interesting, 5 years from now, like how even more, incredible video game adaptations are going to become, just based off of the technology. And, people very much getting excited and really being very proud of the lore, like not being afraid to say, like, yeah, this is a video game movie. It's gonna be campy. It's gonna have all these things that don't make sense. It's video game logic. A lot of this isn't real life, so it's not going to make sense. It's like cartoons, right? A lot of things that go on in cartoons don't make sense, but that's the charm of it. So once studios see, like, that's the charm of this. This is why people love video games. This is why people love cartoons. Then projects are just going to get better and better over time. Hi, Jordan, what's up? Hey, are you excited for the Muppet Show revival happening? Yes, I love the Muppet Show. I grew up with the Muppet Show when I was, a kid. So, my parents had the tapes, so I would always look at the tapes, So yeah, if they are doing a Muppet Show, revival, I'm here for it. I didn't see the special. I haven't gotten around to seeing the special, but I have heard good things about it. So I'll see. I'll see. But I would love to see the Muppets come back. I think the Muppets are those characters that, it's always cool to see them. You don't really get to see them that much anymore. So we'll see. But I would definitely be down. Penny said, I saw the trailer when I saw MK2. I don't like the portrayal of Ken and Ryu. 50 Cent looked dope though. Yeah, it's funny. When I first looked at that trailer, I had to do a double take, because I was like, wait a minute. That's 50 Cent? Like the way they have like the hair and stuff, like I almost had to like rewatch it again, because I was like, that's no way that's 50 Cent. But yeah, sure enough, it's 50 Cent. So yeah, that is going to be something. And I will say, I do think Ryu and Ken, it's a very different take, and I don't know how they're going to approach it. I hope they try to stay, at least pure to what, the lore is behind those characters. But we'll have to see. You know how Hollywood is sometimes. They change things to fit what they feel like people will digest. But it's like, because they always have to appeal to the casual fans. And I understand that, wanting to appeal to the casual fans, but I think the casual fans would want to learn more about these characters if they stick true to the source material. Because, there's a lot of characters that, no one knows about. But I think when you stick to the source material, it makes the casual viewers even more interested to want to go learn more about these characters. So that's one gripe I do have with not just video game adaptations, but like superhero adaptations, just adaptations in general. Don't always stick to the source, and I think that's important when you're trying to tell a story based on an existing property. I didn't realize it was Ken until the second and third. Yeah, is it because of long hair? Is it Ken that had the long hair, or was it Ryu that had the long hair? I think it was one of them that had the long hair. Cause like I know both of them kind of have, they don't have long hair, but they kind of have like more shorter style kind of hair, at least from the games. So it was weird to see like, wait a minute, why does one of them have like this like extremely long hair for like no reason? So I don't know if they're gonna do that thing where you know how in every movie sometime, or not every movie, but certain movies they do this thing where they have to not make the character look like the character until by the third act of the film, and then now they have their suit or iconic thing. You know, I think that's one thing in movies these days that I kind of wish they would stop doing is waiting until the third act to always do certain things that they could, you know, just do in the first act of the film. Because some of the things that sometimes they don't, there's no relevance to do like certain things and try to make it a big moment. Now, obviously, like with some of the Sonic movies or even with the Mario movie, with what they did in the first one, right? Like the power up thing at the end of the film. That made sense, you know, because that was something that people were kind of wondering, are they going to do that? And they did that. So um, it's a matter of when. But yeah, you said Ken is the blonde guy. He had the top knot ponytail thing. Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. Because I'm not used to seeing Ken with that hairstyle. So we'll see. We'll see. But there are some definitely creative choices there. That's a good point. They do wait to unveil the iconic imagery to create a triumphant moment. Yeah, yeah. Like you don't have to do that all the time. Like I said, the hardcore fans and the casual fans, you know, are willing to understand or try to understand these characters. So you don't always have to do like these big giant moments like, oh my god, he's got the short hair now, or oh my god, he's wearing the jacket from this game. You know, you can do that within the film, and you know, you still have fans pointing out like, oh, that's the jacket that he wore in the second game, or that's the jacket that she wore in the third game. Like, you know, so you don't always have to necessarily have to make a big moment out of something small like that. So I hope that's something that does change. That's what was cool about Homecoming all those years ago. Skip the origin evolution thing, got right into it. Exactly. Like everybody knows about Spider-Man and, you know, his history with him getting bitten by the spider, Uncle Ben. Everybody knows like that. We've seen that so much. It's like Batman, right? Like what I liked about the Batman is we didn't have to go through all of the clutching of the pearls, the crime alleyway robbery stuff. We know about all of that. We know he was an orphan. Just get us to him being Batman. Get us to him being a detective. And I like that. And I think they're doing that more now because I think they understand that the origin stuff it's cool, but when you've already done it to pre-existing characters for so many years, it's kind of like, okay, we're just retreading the same territory we did before. So when you do that, you kind of waste 20 to 30 minutes of the film on the origin when you could have spent that 20 to 30 minutes on a new story or a story leading into something else that gets bigger to the movie in the end, you know? So yeah, that's one thing that I do appreciate that changing. Now, obviously, for new characters that people have not seen on like the big screen before, I could understand that. But now it's kind of like now they're doing like either a comic for it or they're doing an animated series for the origin. So that way it's kind of like, okay, well, we don't have to do all of this. We can do side projects, kind of like what they did for Sonic, right? Like we had Sonic 2, then we had Knuckles. I would imagine Paramount is probably looking at doing other spin-offs on other characters. So maybe after Sonic 4, they may even do like an Amy Rose thing or maybe a Metal Sonic thing. So that way we don't have to go all into it just being that. That can maybe have another story being told within that show. Um, so yeah, I think that's important. For pre-existing characters, you don't have to go into all that, but for characters you haven't done, okay, make do a good idea with it, or even like I say like the Spider Verse, right? I say like the Spider Verse movies are pretty good about like, hey, like I'm Spider Man, I got bit here. This is what happened, and they do it in like a very fast paced way, but it's like you understand, and then it gets you back into the story of where these characters are. Like I like stuff like that because I think it's more creative that you're able to tell a compact story in like a matter of like a few seconds or 5 minutes and then you like move on. So yeah. I know that was a lot of me yapping about origin stories in movies, but it makes sense. Like I'd say what's cool about 007 First Light is like, there's a lot of people who don't know about the origin of James Bond. They don't know about his military background. So what makes that game cool is that you get to be immersed in that world. You get to see how James Bond was before he becomes the MI6, before he becomes the agent that we know. So them doing that was a breath of fresh air, and for James Bond, I think that's good. Now, as far as like the movies, I don't think the movies need to do that. I mean, if they want to, you can kind of do like a short, brief thing that you can do with that, but I don't think they need to because I feel like with this game, they do such a good job with telling you the story and you playing within the story of him becoming who he is that I don't think there really is any need or any reason to do it in a movie, but you know how it is. Panda, Panda, oh man, you didn't have to do that. Thank you for the $2. What shows are coming up are you excited for? Okay, let's see here. Obviously X-Men 97 that comes out July 1st. Lanterns, I believe, comes out. That's the Green Lantern show. At first, I was excited, but then the first trailer came out and I wasn't as excited as I was before. Then the second trailer came out and I was like, you know what, this is better. So that comes out in August. Um, I'm currently watching Spider Noir, so I can't really say that. There's some other shows out there. Regular shows kind of been out, but we're kind of waiting on the other episodes for regular shows. So I'd say that um, I have to like really look through the shows, but I do have like a good couple of shows that are coming out this year that I am looking forward to. Some of them just don't have a release date yet. But what about you? What are some shows that you're looking forward to? I'm very curious. Anime Ranker, hey, welcome. Yo, do you watch anime? I not religiously, I don't. Like, don't laugh at me. But the only two anime that I've watched is Speed Racer and Dragon Ball Z. Um, I just haven't really gotten. I don't really know where to start as far as anime goes. But I'm sure, your name being Anime Ranker, like, I'm sure you maybe can put me on to some different anime. Because I'm very much open to, kind of seeing. Because my sister, she watches anime. So I'm very much open into kind of figuring out what's the best anime to start out with. Which ones are like the best ones to watch. I'm very curious on that. Let's see. You said I still need to watch Fallout season two. Fallout season two was really good. Fallout is one of those shows. If there is one streaming platform that I can say right now is just doing some like really good content, Amazon Prime Video is Amazon Prime Video. They are putting out bangers. Okay, they're putting out some really good stuff. Um, I've seen some really good movies on Amazon Prime, and then I've also seen some really like I've seen some really bad movies on Amazon Prime too. But there is some good content out there, some really good shows. Invincible is one that I watch like every year. Um, Obviously, Spider Noir is on Amazon. The Boys, although I will say The Boys season 5, I haven't really been too keen on. I'll be honest. I feel like The Boys season 4 is kind of where the show dipped down for me, but season 5 just kind of feels low. And I wasn't a fan of the finale as well. I think the finale was very underwhelming, and there were a lot of things that were not answered. There were a lot of questions that were not answered that now they're trying to answer within a spin-off that I just don't know even then if all those answers, if all those questions will be answered within that show. So that's my thoughts on the boys. I need to catch up on Invincible. Only watched one season. Oh, once you start getting into it, like there's so much that has happened in Invincible. Um, every season just gets crazier and crazier and more insane with some of the things that they're doing. It's like wow, they are going there. But it's cool to see because you don't really see a show go to the depths that Invincible goes. Besides the boys, but yeah, Dragon Ball is goaded. Let me give some suggest. I guess you're saying suggestions. I guess that's what you were saying, Jace. I think you might enjoy Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, or Last Airbender. Both only about 50 episodes and pretty well paced. No real filler and or pointless moments for both. I have been having people tell me to watch The Last Airbender. And I remember The Last Airbender coming on, on TV, but I just didn't really watch it like that. Like I do remember seeing like a few episodes, but I didn't really sit down and like fully watch it. But I think I might have to, because I know there is an Avatar movie coming out. Well, the movie got leaked online, um, by somebody. I don't know who it was, but it got leaked online, and it was going to be a theatrical film. Then Paramount said we're going to put it on streaming, which I think they should have just kept it in theaters because there's a lot of people who love the Airbender, Avatar Last Airbender. Um, so I definitely will have to check it out. Full Metal Alchemist, I'll definitely look into that, and Brotherhood. I have heard about those as well. So I will write those down and I'll be sure to check those out sometime because I have been wanting to get into anime. We got Death Note, Naruto. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Let me know if I'm saying it right. One Piece, Demon Slayer, but those are some suggestions. Okay, I'll put those down too. A lot of Death Note love, so it seems like Death Note is definitely one of those I've been hearing about. Demon Slayer. My sister watches Demon Slayer, I believe, and I think she watches Full Metal Alchemist too as well. From what I've seen, I don't think I don't think I want to catch up on the boys. Yeah, like I said, uh, seasons 1 through 3 really good, but then 4 and 5 is where the show just tapers off, and it's like I think they lost the plot by those two final seasons. I thought Death Note only had one season, 37 episodes, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I am definitely open to checking it out because, like I said, I have if I can find it, I have so much DVDs and stuff. Jesus Christ, I'm messing up everything. Don't mind me. Where the heck is that? Here it is. So, like I said, I grew up with Speed Racer, so I bought the complete DVD of all 52 episodes of Speed Racer. I even have the movie. Let me see if I can find the movie. Which, by the way, the Speed Racer movie is getting a lot of love recently. But I can tell you this: I was like one of the people that was very much heavy on the Speed Racer film. It's so good. It is so good. This film, and it's just another fact of the product of the time where if this movie had came out in today's standards, I think this movie would have been a big hit. But that's how it is with movies, you know. Some movies, if they had just came out maybe 10 years after the fact, I think they would have been a big hit. And I think the Speed Racer film would have been. I know that I haven't heard anything else about it, but I know that they were working on a Speed Racer TV series, but I have not heard anything about that. It's been a couple years. Um, but yeah, I know they have like comics for Speed Racer 2 now. I think Speed has one, and then Racer X has his own comic run too. So I'm a big Speed Racer nerd, so I love it. Yeah, I know. There's been a lot of people who've said like the anime is you know it's very cheesy, and it is. It's very cheesy. It's very over the top. It's like what like why? But it's so like I guess for me it's the cheesiness that makes it so like um I guess so iconic, like you said, it's iconic, you know. People know the Mach 5, like people know about Speed and his crazy antics of getting into fights with all kinds of just different people, so it's iconic, but I will say it is cheesy, but you know, hey, I think it's dope. Um I got a couple things here, like I got the Spider-Verse movies. I definitely need to get up on my game when it comes to physical media. This is not a plug, but you know, buy physical media, people. They're trying to take away physical media, and we can't let that happen because physical media is everything. Because you know, it's cool to have all the streaming platforms, but these streaming platforms are costing money after money, and every year, every 6 months, they're raising the prices for these streaming platforms, and it's becoming more and more expensive. So I think that having ownership of the shows that you enjoy watching is always a good thing, because you never know when these shows could get, you know, they could disappear and you just don't see them anymore, and it sucks. GG, welcome to the stream. Demon Slayer is a good show. One Punch season 1 is pretty fun too. I definitely needed. I've been hearing about One Punch. I need to check out One Punch. So yeah, y'all are giving me some good anime suggestions, so I will check those out. I might start with Avatar first because that's the one that I know people have been like asking me to watch for years, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'll start with Avatar first, and then I'll probably work like with like Full Metal Alchemist and you know Death Note and the other ones that you guys had suggested too. One Piece has over. They have over 1,000 episodes. My goodness, that is a lot. That is a lot of episodes. They've been on for that long. I know that I know that my sister, she has the manga. She's a big manga reader, so she has some of the manga for One Piece and stuff. So it seems like One Piece has been around for a long time. So it's gonna be very interesting if I ever get there to that point. I don't know if I will, like you said, because over 1,000 episodes. That's a lot of episodes. That's like The Simpsons. You know, there's so many episodes of The Simpsons, and I've tried rewatching every episode of The Simpsons, and it I kind of quit after the 12th season because there's just so many episodes of The Simpsons that it's just like I don't know if I can watch all these episodes. So, but it's funny because it's the reverse for me with Futurama. Like last year, I did a full on rewatch of Futurama, even with the new seasons, which I believe there's a new season of Futurama that's coming out. I don't know if it's this month or in July. I'm not sure. But I rewatched all of Futurama and I like enjoyed it all the way through. It's so funny because that show started out in the square box format. You know, when you had the square TVs from back in the day, it's so funny seeing it go from that to like full screen. It's just one of those things that it seems weird at first, but then you start to appreciate it over time because it's like the format's changed with the show like that. So it's really cool. Something I love about Gen Z is that they are buying physical media exactly like DVDs, CDs, vinyl. I even know some right now that are buying VHS tapes. And I'm like, wow, we're going back to VHS tapes. But I can't lie, those VHS tapes were something. You know, obviously you had to play. Obviously, if you wanted to rewatch a movie, you had to rewind it back, and you would have like this blue screen. And the only way you would know that the movie was finished is it turned into like a black and white screen. So that was like the only way you knew to press play. Because if you press play at the wrong time, it would stop at a certain point of the movie, and then you would have to rewind that movie all the way back over. The only problem with VHS tapes is the tape, obviously, because if you play that tape out so much, you would have to get another one. Like I remember having the Rugrats Go to Paris tape, and back then, you know, you had different colored tapes. So the Nickelodeon tapes, they were all orange. Um, I wonder if I still have that tape. It might be at my dad's. It might be at my dad's place because I think he still has a lot of those VHS tapes I had growing up. But yeah, the Nickelodeon ones were orange. I'm trying to remember like what other. I think there were some other colors that would come in too. I don't know if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ones came in green, but if they did, I think that would have been really cool if they did. But I'm trying to remember if they did or not. But yeah, that was a cool little thing. VHS tapes, VHS tapes. Now I never did experience like a laser disc, but I know like around the time that my dad was in high school, they had laser discs. So and even regular show did like a whole episode with laser discs. So I kind of learned a little bit about laser discs from that episode. Um, but yeah, I just think it's really cool seeing, you know, all these, you know, sources of physical media coming back because again, streaming with music, you never know. Your favorite artist that you like listening to could be gone off the streaming platforms, and then what do you do then? You buy the CDs, you know, you buy the vinyl. So it's very important. I'm sure One Piece is a fine show, but it just doesn't feel it just doesn't respect the viewer's time. Too many inconsequential moments, no conclusion after all these years. It's just a show lost on interesting. That is interesting. I'll have to take that into consideration watching One Piece. But that's a very interesting perspective. I love Mark Ellis's retrospectives on every episode of a show. Been watching the King of the Hill one. You know what? Speaking of King of the Hill, they are returning with the another season for. I believe it's season 15 because it's not like the new King of the Hill, so they didn't restart it. So it's season 15. I did enjoy season 14. Like I obviously times have changed, the animation has changed. But I mean that's like with every animated stuff from back in the day. You know, it's not gonna be the same, you know, hand drawn animation on cell, you know, animation like it was, you know, back in the day. So a lot of it's done digitally. But I will say King of the Hill does a pretty good job of like finding a balance between when it did look like the hand drawn show based from when they went digital I think it looks better now than it did when they did, first start out with the digital. When they did switch to the digital format, I think it looks better now than it did then. Um, and obviously, all the characters have grown up. Like Bobby owns a restaurant now. Um, Peggy and Hank, obviously, they're back in Arlen, and stuff. It's just it's so interesting, like seeing. It's weird, but it's also interesting seeing like a lot of the stuff that we grew up with as kids is like coming back. That can also be a good thing and a bad thing, depending upon like how it's been done. I do wish that there were more original ideas out there because they can't do this forever, right? Like they can't just reboot, reboot everything because then kids, and later generations won't have anything that they can connect to, like I just don't think kids have, besides like maybe the Amazing World of Gumball, although that's been rebooted in a way. They revived that. So it's like um even shows that have been like out for like maybe 6 to 5 years are now getting like revivals and stuff. I kind of feel bad. I really do feel bad for kids in this generation because they don't really have like the cartoons that we did, like obviously there were spin-offs, Looney Tunes was always getting a spin-off, whether it was Daffy in Space or Them as Babies, because there was a whole era where every Tom and Jerry were babies, Looney Tunes were babies because they were trying to catch the Rugrats trend. But let's be honest, the Rugrats are kind of like their own thing. Like the Rugrats works because they weren't older kids or they weren't adults. Like obviously you had adults in the show, but then they did this, which they did years later, did do the spin-off of them in what, middle school. Which I mean that was an interesting thing, but it was like they're babies, right? Like they're babies. Like and now all of a sudden they're all in middle school. Like when did this happen? So it was one of those things where it was weird, but again, there you had that, then you had like the era where they were trying to sell you toys. Buy our toys, GI Joe. Buy our He-Man toys. Buy our Transformers toys. Buy our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys. So there was always like an era where it was this weird trend that would happen. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. It just all depends. Yes, the rewind. Yeah, that is so true. I love CDs. My old car played them. I'm sad my other car doesn't have a CD player. My phone also doesn't have an aux cord, so I love music, so it sucks. Yeah, like I love CDs. Like there's no greater feeling than putting in a CD to like a Walkman or just a regular CD player and just kind of like hearing the little. I don't know if you guys caught it, but when you would play CDs, there was always like that little like static sound that would play before like the CD would come on. And I don't know, there was just something really like special about that where it's like the CD is playing because you hear the static. Because if not, you wouldn't hear that static at all. So it was kind of like, is the CD messed up? Did I put it the wrong way? Like, it's just little signs, like even with like VHS tapes where you would hear the white noise playing before the tape would like start playing. And even with like record players, right? Like vinyl, there's like the scratches, the noise scratchings of white noise that you would hear. So I don't know. There's just no greater feeling than physical media. It's just it's its own special thing. I thought it was a great King of the Hill comeback season. They really evolved the show. They did. And I was shocked because I was so worried at first. I was like, how are they going to do this? Like, how are they going to make these characters all grown up but still feel like the same characters that we knew all these years beforehand? And they did a really good job. I think Mike Judge is really good when it comes to that. Like even with I said like even with Beavis and Butthead, like even though they're kind of still their same silly, ridiculous selves, I think they still found a way to try to bring them into modern day times while not trying to change them and make them completely different characters that we didn't know before. And I think when you're able to do that, it makes it better. And I think even with like the new regular show, right? Regardless of how you feel about the animation style, I think obviously the animation looks different now because of I believe someone said like when they were doing the show, they were still in the Cartoon Network studio. And when it closed down, they had to move a lot of their assets to a new office. So some of the assets that they had, they weren't able to move all of them. So that's why some of the episodes, some of them look more polished than others. And you can kind of tell that with some of the episodes that they put out in the first batch. Some of them look like, wait a minute. But why does Benson look like that? Why does Rigby look like that? Why does Mordecai look like that? It's a whole like jarring thing. But as far as like the vibe of the show, it still feels like the same show. It feels like they didn't leave. They never missed a beat. Like the same crazy wackiness jokes, the dirty jokes that they would have within the episodes, especially the early seasons. And I love the early seasons of regular show. Like season 3 is my all-time favorite because speaking of, actually have that. I actually have the season 3 of regular show like on DVD here. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, I'm a big collector, okay? I ain't trying to flex, but you know. But yeah, season 3, like I said, one of the best, if not the best season of regular show as a whole. And I mean, you got in the house, like the Halloween episodes for regular show were always iconic. I mean, regular show Rigby getting turned into a house, the crash pit of Muscle Man and High Five Ghost, the crazy doll that Pops had. Um, there was like a lot of crazy ones. Then you had like Death Bear, Trash Boat when Rigby decided to change his name to Trash Boat, which is just like one of the most ridiculous things, but that's Rigby. He just did not care. Excellent is also another great episode. Think Positive, which I think was like it was like some kind of weird juice that Mordecai and Rigby were drinking to get smarter. Uh, Dead at Eight. What was Dead at Eight? Was that the zombie episode? I think it was the zombie episode where they had like the movie thing going on. Best best VHS in the world. Uh, Fuzzy Dice, like that was the. A lot of people say the Fuzzy Dice episode was like the FNAF episode, because obviously the animatronics and stuff like that. But I mean, the whole idea of like creepy animatronics was like a very big concept even before FNAF did it, in my honest opinion. But I think FNAF just kind of amplified that fear for a lot of people. But that was always a big thing for people, especially when I was a kid. There was a kid that would get, freaked out by animatronics or the idea of animatronics. So I just think it was kind of one of those things that was just like clowns, right? Like back in the day, there were people who were scared of clowns, but you have so many killer clowns and clown movies and horror clown movies that it kind of just amplified it even more, just brought more light to it. I get mad when they remake good movies and we watch as kids and make them with awful plots and chosen actors. Exactly. Exactly. The babies. Yeah, it never made sense to me. Like, I really did not like Muppet Babies. Exactly, like, why are the Muppets babies now? Like, what are we doing? Why are Tom and Jerry like little kids now? Like, what are we doing? Like, that was such a weird time. That was such a weird time. I'm so glad we got out of that. I feel like the only one that worked, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't even call them like babies. I just think they're just kids. Is like Tiny Toons. I think Tiny Toons and Animaniacs were like the only two that I feel like were kind of like their own things. And they weren't trying to be a Rugrats clone or a baby clone or whatever they were doing at the time. You're good, man. You're good. I always got to get the physical if you love it. You never know when you can't access the show digitally anymore for whatever reason. Exactly. Like, that's why I love getting like DVDs when I can. Um, because you never know, right? Like regular show's a good example because there was a point where it would be on HBO Max. Then they took it off of HBO Max for like months. So you couldn't watch it anywhere. You could watch it on Hulu, and I believe you can still watch it on Hulu now. But if you had Max and only Max, and you were looking forward to watching a regular show on Max, you were out of luck because it was on Hulu. Same with like other shows. Like, I'm trying to find Space Ghost Coast to Coast right now on physical because I can't find Space Ghost Coast to Coast anywhere. And that was my jam. That was my show. I love tuning into that on Adult Swim. I think it's on Sling TV right now, all the episodes, all the seasons. But I want to own it physically because I want to be able to watch it whenever I have the feeling to watch it. Also, rest in peace, George Lowe. I believe it's been a year since he's passed away. Um, Made the Space Ghost character who he is. Although Space Ghost existed before Coast to Coast, but I think his performance and what he brought to that character with that show just made Space Ghost kind of a more cult classic character. So I always want to try to give my flowers there when I can. But yeah, like physical media will just always be there. I mean, even with games, right? Like with video games, like there are a lot of video games that you have to play online, and one of the things that sucks about gaming nowadays is that you have to have internet connection to play games. Like when we were growing up, you didn't need an internet connection to play these games. All you needed was the console and the game cartridge or the disc, and you were ready to go. That's all you needed. But now they want you to pay for, you know, now they want you to pay for a certain monthly fee for some of these games, and you gotta have online internet to play these games, and just a whole bunch of just malarkey. It's just like I don't want to pay for all of this. Like I just want to play the games. Let me just play the games, you know? Those early Adult Swim and adult cartoons and Cartoon Network shows were great. They used so many Hanna Barbera assets. Yeah, like well, obviously Brack. Brack was like another character. What was the other one? I know I believe Venture Bros was one of those too. But there is one was is not Hawkman. It's not Hawkman. What is the name of that character? Because I remember his show being on Adult Swim at that time too. Harvey Birdman. That's it. That's the show. Harvey Birdman. That was another one that I liked watching. And I think they had like Cartoon Planet too, which was just like Zorak and Space Ghost and Brack. And I think there was like one segment where they like read letters, and it was just like a whole weird like late night show that they were doing for that. And I remember watching that too. I believe there's some of that stuff on YouTube. You can find like some episodes of that. But I wish that you could find all of that stuff like on digital, but they don't. So I don't know. I'm gonna try to hit up Warner Brothers, if they're even still called Warner Brothers at this point, and seeing if maybe they could do like a reissue of like Space Ghost and a lot of those like early Adult Swim animated shows, and maybe see if they can put those on physical because I would love to have those because those were great shows. Like early Adult Swim days, great, like great a great time. So I would love to see that. Harvey Birdman PS2 game. You wait, you have it? I've heard about the game, but I haven't like seen gameplay of it or anything. So that would be a cool game to see you play on your channel sometime, because I haven't seen it before. I do remember you playing the. I don't know if it was Aqua Teen. I don't know if it was Aqua Teen or some other game, but I think it was like a golf game. I believe it was Aqua Teen though. It was like a golf game that I remember you playing in one of your streams. And I had not seen that before. I didn't even know that was a thing. The same game was also on the Wii, probably better with the pointer controls. Yeah, I like it's crazy like some of those like early games like shows had games um cuz obviously people talk about the Samurai Jack game a lot, but I didn't really see people talk about, the Harvey Birdman, or there were a little bit of people talking about the Aqua Teen game, but not many. So I don't know if they would ever like remaster those games or not, but I think that would be cool if they could. Yeah, the Aqua Teen PS2 game. It's like a golf adventure. It still had the show's writing. It made me laugh. Yeah, I remember there being like some really funny lines in that game when you had played it. Um, I think it was like a few years ago. But yeah, like that was some classic good comedy back then. I feel like comedians and stuff now are trying too hard to be funny instead of just being naturally funny and being talently funny. And I think a lot of those shows back then, like, they had very clever writers who just, you know, they just knew, like, they could make whatever joke and find a way to make it fit, and it just worked, you know? Sometimes they would say just the most outlandish stuff and it would just somehow, it just worked. Now it's like people are kind of forcibly trying to say just outlandish stuff, and there's like no real intention or no real reason why they said it. They're just saying it because they think it's funny or they think it's attention catching, you know. But yeah, I miss that era. Sometimes I think about it, you know, like all those years ago being a kid, like even now, like I feel for kids because social media has taken up so much of their life. It's like there's no Saturday morning cartoons. There's no, kids outside. You may have kids outside occasionally, but it's not like, when we were kids, it was like going outside was kind of one of those things where it was like that was the highlight of the day. Rather it was being in school, going to recess, or um, coming home, and maybe if you had friends, maybe you would invite your friends over and you would, play all the games that we played, as kids and stuff. You don't really see that all that much anymore. You don't see ice cream trucks. You don't see, just a lot of that stuff that we did, like kite flying and stuff. And I hate that. Times have changed into this digital age, because I say it all the time, we were the last generation to really experience, like, we had a good mixture. Like, we had a mix of the outside world, but then we also had the digital world, but it wasn't as big as it is now. Obviously you had, computer games. You would go on Shockwave, or you would go on mini clip games, or there's some other, computer game websites and stuff like back in the day that I'm sure y'all remember going on. Like, we had that, right? But we still had Saturday morning cartoons. We still had, uh toys. We still, not saying that there isn't toys now, but like, toys was like a very big thing for us as kids. We had like all these different avenues as kids. But now kids, it's like, let me go on Instagram. Let me see what the newest trend is. Let me see um what the biggest TikTok phrase is. Like, we had our phrases as kids. Like, we had our phrases and things like that. But it's like now it's just like they just don't have anything to cling on to, and that kind of goes back to my point into like the revivals and stuff. And maybe to some degree, maybe some people feel like they have to revive a lot of these shows that we did watch as a kid, because there aren't people stepping up to bring a lot of that same vibe, and a lot of that same stuff that we had, but doing it for a new audience, doing it for a new generation. But I think there are a lot of people who do want to bring, a lot of that stuff that we had, a lot of that feeling that we had. A lot of them do want to bring it back, but you know, it's really difficult to really get an answer as to why all of that stuff went away like it did. I wish it didn't, because like I said, we had ABC Kids, we had Fox Kids, we had JetX, we had uh, WB Kids. Like, we had all of these different Saturday morning channels and stuff that you would turn to, and from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, we had all that. And then we had the classic Nickelodeon, and everybody had they had the Worldwide Day of Play, so everybody was like, okay, well, I don't want to go outside. Although, you understand now why they were telling kids to go outside, because you don't really see kids going outside like that now. Back then, we didn't appreciate the Worldwide Day of Play, but now you kind of understand why they were doing it, why they were pushing it so much. So for us, we were just like, okay, well, I'll just go to Cartoon Network then. Courage the Cowardly Dog's on right now anyway, so I'll just go to that. So it's crazy in hindsight, looking back on a lot of those things that we grew up with. And I know nostalgia is a heavy thing to look at, but some of the things in nostalgia, there was some charm to a lot of those things. And I think the charm is missing now. It's missing very much now. Yeah, Newgrounds. Newgrounds was another one that I was on heavy back in the day. So um now kids have Steam Decks, and $800 PS5s, and $1,000 Xbox Series X, and just all of this stuff. And it's like, I remember all you needed was just a small itty bitty computer that just worked. If you had a small itty bitty computer that was able to just play a good computer game, sometime that was all that was enough. I remember somebody had ported back in the day some of the Mario games onto the computer game websites. And I used to play those because I didn't have a Nintendo. So for me, playing through those games through like the computer websites was like my way of like experiencing Mario. And even like some of the games that people had like didn't have access to. There were some of those games on those websites. So you don't really have that anymore because again, buy our expensive console that we're going to raise the price up on every 6 months but not give you any games worth buying these consoles for. Um, let's give you buy our $60 a month Game Pass. And I'm being exaggerative because I don't know how much Game Pass is. I don't know if it's that much. Buy our Game Pass and get access to all these games, but you gotta pay a high amount price. Let's give you the highest expensive console we can give you, but no backward compatibility to play all the games that you loved growing up, even from past times, like even before. Like I just feel like now there's so much of how much can we make money out of people, even though inf- inflation has high prices on everything, and even it's now companies are even trying to find every little way that they can find. Let's charge them for this. Let's charge them for that. If you want physical, you're gonna have to pay an extra $60 for the CD-ROM to play these games. I'm like, I didn't have to pay this extra amount just to play games on a DVD. Like, why are you charging me now for that? Like, I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense. Daniel's Hot Topic, what's up? Welcome. I miss Fox Kids TV Channel 6. Yeah, I do too. I remember being mad I couldn't watch Sonic X on Saturday mornings and miss out on episodes. Yeah, because, if you had cable, you could DVR those things. But if you didn't have cable, it was kind of like, dang, I missed the episode. And, I don't. And then, they didn't play the same episode, the next week. It was kind of like whatever new episode was out, that's what they played. So you would miss out on an episode, you would go to school, and somebody would say, hey, did you see the episode from Saturday? And I'm like, no, I was busy. I was out. I couldn't see it. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe hopefully it comes back on. It would never come back on. The next episode would play. So then you would watch, and it's always what I noticed. It's always the days that you're busy is when they have the most chaotic, most memorable episodes. But then when you watch the show, it's always the episodes that are filler and don't really have anything going on that they always seem to play. That would always happen to me. So I was just like, why? Why do you do this to me? Why is it set up this way? So, yeah. Being a kid, man, being a kid, it's something. Um, there was a trend on Twitter like not too long ago, and it was like people were choosing like four foods that were, a thing, like the 3D Doritos, it was like the Hershey Kisses, but they were all in like different colors, like M&Ms. I believe they were like called Kissables. The Cheetos Twists, like people were like going like all into like different things that they grew up eating, like different snacks and stuff like that. And I was just looking through the thread of all these different snacks. I'm like, I remember this. I remember when that came out. I remember when they had that drink that everyone loved and then they discontinued it for some odd reason, like it's weird, being like adults and being like, you know what? That's where did that go? Why did they cancel that? Like that was so popular. And I don't understand that now because now with products is kind of like they always bring out product flavors or things that no one like asked for instead of just bringing back some of the stuff that people do ask for. But even sometimes when they bring back some of the things that people ask for, they're not the same that you remember because they've changed some things within what were originally like. So, you know how it is. It's tough sometimes to kind of like really get that feeling of what you had like as a kid because then when they bring it back, it's not the same flavor. It's not the same taste that you remember growing up. But yeah, those were some good times. I feel old saying that, but there were some good times, you know. Even with like MTV, right? Kind of going back into it. I used to watch MTV a lot, and back then MTV was like you had your music videos, you had your Pimp My Ride. Even though years later finding out that Pimp My Ride wasn't real, but as a kid you believed it. Oh wow, they got a TV, they got a microwave in their car. Like, how are they doing this? And then you find out years later, it's not real. You know, you had your Daria, you had your Beavis and Butthead, you know, Clone High, right? Like, you had all those like cartoons in the early 2000s that were out, um, while also having like your music videos. Then MTV became 16 and Pregnant, Jersey Shore, like all of these reality shows, and MTV just lost the plot of what made them so iconic, which was the music videos, the animated stuff they were doing, like Daria and Beavis and Butthead, and I'm sure there are like other shows that I'm blinking on right now that were like iconic at that time. Because I feel like the early 2000s was that time where we were the world was kind of embracing like a new era, like a more laid back. I would say kind of like a more laid back era. You know, the early 2000s was still trying to kind of it still was like them trying to phase out of the 90s while also still in the 90s, if that makes sense, because a lot of the style and stuff was still kind of there, you know, like the sweatpants, the baggy, you know, baggy jeans, and all that was still a thing like in the early 2000s, right? So it was still a slow transition, and I feel like all that didn't change until about like 2009, 2010, and then it went from that to baggy jeans to skinny jeans, from the small little lens shades to the big aviators with the slots in between. You know the ones I'm talking about. Early 2010s, like the what was it, LMFAO, the ones they used to wear when LMFAO was like popular for that one song they did. It was a banger. Party rock anthem. I mean, come on now, that's a banger. So we had that. I mean, the dynamite of the world. Just like all those songs from the 2010s, Gangnam Style, and that was a big popular thing. Like I remember there were YouTube compilations for Gangnam Style, like 24-hour, 72-hour, and I'm like, how are people like putting all of these like hours into just replaying the same song over and over and over again? It was like it was a wild time in the early 2010s because fashion and music changed so much that it felt unrecognizable from what we had before. The Harlem Shake, that was a big thing at the time. Like, what was another? There was another dance that was like very popular at that time. and I'm blinking on it. Not the wobble. Although the wobble was popular at that time, but I think the wobble was popular before then because that was around. What when was that around? Stanky leg, yes, stanky leg. Um, Superman, lean with it, rock with it. Yeah, yeah. So a lot of that like early, late 2000s, early 2010s stuff was like very much dance oriented. The Dougie, yeah, the Dougie. Um, you're bringing me back all those like dances and stuff. Um, and I was like, that was like elementary school, middle school era time for me when a lot of that was like popular. Crumpin', yeah, yeah, because crunk was like early 2000s, like well maybe not early 2000s, but like mid to like late 2000s. Like crunk was pretty big around that time. Yeah, Juju on that beat was another one. Like yeah, like a lot of those like dance songs from middle school, high school, when I used to go to the dances and stuff. And mind you, I was one of those kids when I went to the dances, I was one of those kids that I danced. Like from the time I got there to the time it was time for us to go. I danced that entire time. So I was pretty much big into dancing at that point, which I miss now. I do miss dancing. Um, that was like that was a very therapeutic thing for me. Yeah, I used to do break dancing and stuff, but I just stopped doing it. I just stopped doing it. So who knows? Maybe I'll get back into it. We did have a Olympic break dancing, and that only lasted for 1 year. And I know there were people who said they didn't like it or it was cringe, and I get it. I get it. But it was new. It and I that was the only thing besides a few other things from the Olympics that I watched. But I was very much in tune with that. I was like, hey, if the breaking does really good, maybe we'll get a DJing thing for the Olympics because I think DJing is another skill that you don't really see these days. Scratching on turntables and stuff. Um, a lot of hip hop artists and producers, back then, still do it now, but you don't really see a lot of people our age doing a lot of that kind of scratching and turntable stuff anymore. Yeah, we had a lot of dances. You said my high school made us do a video to that for Spirit Week. It was awful. Yeah. Turn Down for What? Everybody remembers Turn Down for What. That song was everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere and not hear that song. Every commercial played it. Every mall played it. Every store played it. Um, it was just inescapable, that song. Let's see. Daniel, you were saying some questions about X-Men 97 season 2. Okay, you said how long will it be for the X-Men to be lost in time? I'll give it about 4 episodes. I'll give it about 4 episodes because there are 9 episodes from what I've heard in this season. So I'll give it about 4 as for the first question. How long let's see. Who is the main villain this time? I think it's going to be Apocalypse. Apocalypse for sure. Who will be Apocalypse's horseman? Well, Gambit is definitely going to be one. Maybe Iceman, because we haven't seen Iceman. Bobby Drake Iceman. So maybe him. I don't know who else it could be though. I'm sure they'll throw in some other characters that we haven't seen that maybe have been dead for a while in that universe, and they could probably use those. Are Cyclops and Jean Grey headed for a breakup? I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna break up. I don't feel like it's necessary to do that because they did that in the original series before, you know, quite a few times. So I don't think they need to go back and retread that. You know, if you're gonna keep them together, keep them together. If they're gonna have it, you know, there are moments of disagreement and stuff like that. That's okay. That's normal in any relationship. But as far as like the whole off and on relationship thing, I don't really want to see that. I just don't think it's necessary. How does Wolverine get his adamantium back? I know this is gonna be wild to say. I think Mr. Sinister might be at play with that. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the adamantium claws, there's some green liquid. And every time I think of green liquid, I think of Mr. Sinister because of what we saw with Cable and how that whole ordeal happened. Now, there may be some other way he may get it. I don't know how, but my theory is Mr. Sinister might have a play in that. But I don't know how far that's going to go. My question is, will we see Spider-Man this season in a crossover? We might see him again, maybe like a small 5 second thing like they did in the previous season, but I don't think they're gonna do like a crossover thing with that. Maybe for season three they could do like Avengers vs. X-Men if they want to go that route, but it seems like with what they're doing, you know, with this season, I just don't see that in the foreground right now. But who knows? Maybe with the finale of season two, maybe they'll, you know, set it up that way, but I don't see it right now. Yeah, Whip and Nene, that was another one. Um Walk It Out. I don't know if anyone said Walk It Out yet, but that was another big one at the time. Um we had like a lot of those. We had a lot of those like dances and stuff. Obviously, like before our time, they had the electric slide and stuff like that. What was the cubic shuffle? That was another one. The cubic shuffle, and then I don't remember the name of it, but everybody knows like clap, 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 clap your hands. Reverse, reverse. You know, everybody remembers that one, but I don't remember the name of that dance. I just know it's like whatever the guy says you do, you do it. You know, that's what I've always remembered it as, but I've never remembered the exact name for that dance. I've seen the Michael movie 5 times already, and I've became a bigger MJ fan. Kind of disappointed, Diana Ross wasn't in the movie. I feel like they could definitely do a part two. I love the thriller sequence. I'm sorry I just joined. What are we talking about? Just random things, really. We've kind of been all over the place. We've been talking about X-Men 97 stuff, a lot of nostalgic stuff that we grew up with. Just like a ton of stuff like games, movies, things that we did as kids. Like it's we've been on the nostalgia train, I'd say, this stream, and it's been kind of fun because it's bringing back memories of being a kid, being a kid, and kind of like seeing certain things now from a different perspective, being adults, and kind of appreciating it, but also then kind of being like, that was weird. Why did they do that then? You know? So just kind of looking back at things in a retrospective mindset, I think. It's kind of what we've been doing. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the Michael movie. I enjoyed it myself. I've seen it a few times. They're definitely, it seems like with that movie being as big as it is, and it's like close to $1 billion. It's like 800 million right now. So I definitely see there being a part two. It's just how they tackle part two, I think, is going to be the important thing. And I think there's some things in part two of that film they really need to harp in on and give clear, like a very clear idea of what they want to, you know, express when it comes to that. So that's my thoughts there as far as part two. Chicken noodle soup with soda on the side. Yep. Yep, that was another one. And I remember like Campbell's soup, right? Was it Campbell's soup? It was one of the soup commercials. I remember that they had that song. That was like a very popular song for them. I think it was Campbell's soup though. But for us, when you had your days when you had a cold or you were sick and you had to stay home, you had your chicken noodle soup, you had your saltine crackers, maybe Ritz crackers, depends. Um, you'd sit home. Maybe your parents made you watch the stories. Uh, Maybe they made you watch Mari and People's Court and Judge Judy and all those shows because I definitely watched all of those on the days that I wasn't feeling my best as a kid. So yeah, and then Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer was another one. Dr. Phil. Yeah. A lot of those shows when you were on your sick day or you just didn't want to go to school, they said, "Well, you're gonna stay home. You're not gonna do anything." And yeah, so you would watch whatever they watched. Um, Steve Wilkos. Yeah, I remember seeing episodes of Steve Wilkos. That was some weird stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, they put this on TV? Like they legit put this on TV? Like how are they able to get away with this? But that was public TV. They just did not care. Like they really did not care. Um, the lie detector test determined that that was a lie, and you'd find out that the parent who thought that that was the father wasn't the father, or the mother wasn't the mother of the child, or the father in denial of him being the father of the child ends up being the father of the child, and just all that stuff. It's like, what are we doing? Like, and those shows stayed on for years, like on TV, like for years. Even like Judge Judy and Judge Mathis and stuff like that. Like those shows stayed on for a long time. Some of them are still on. Like Judge Judy, she's still on, but I think her show is different now. Like it's Judy Justice or something like that now. I think Judge Mathis is has like a different court show now and stuff like that. So they're still on, but they're just different now, or on different stations. My cousin's mom was on Mari. Really? Wow. Wow. That is interesting. I did have a cousin that she did used to go to the tapings for like Mari and Jerry Springer and stuff, but I haven't been able to scope her out in any of those episodes. So maybe I would have to kind of see where she was at the time. Because a lot of those shows they filmed like either in New York or Los Angeles. So my cousin, she stays in New York, so she was definitely going to a lot of those like different tapings and stuff around that time. Speaking of like foods like chicken noodle soup and stuff like that, one of my all-time favorite foods as a kid was grilled cheese. You give me a good grilled cheese sandwich, oh my goodness, best day ever. Best day ever. And then back then, if you went swimming, either at a friend's pool or the public pool or whatever, you would always have like either you would have two scenarios. where you would either have like a pizza party or you would have like sandwiches, like the best sandwiches ever. Like I don't know what it was about going to the pool and then having a sandwich like right after with some chips on the side, but I tell you that it hit every time. It hit every time. Chicken quesadillas were great too. School lunches hit sometimes. Yeah, in the beginning, like before they changed, before they changed school lunches. In the beginning, school lunch was pretty decent, but then they changed it like after a while, and then I remember going to school, not even eating lunch, and I remember I had gotten like so slim from that too, because I just did not eat that much around that time. Like I would always, especially during high school, I would always bring like bags of popcorn. And luckily my Spanish teacher, shout out to her, she had a microwave in her classroom. So she knew like every day, I would ask like, "Hey, could I borrow your microwave?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, sure." So I would always eat like bags of popcorn, or I would always like pop bags of popcorn in her classroom, and that would be my lunch, like every day. So yeah, grilled cheese was my go-to in college. I'm sure like your college days was like very like it was like very rough because you're in college and you're trying to find a way to like balance having good food but then also like school and other things too. So I'm sure like you have like some stories of having to like get snacks that are like on sale at certain stores or like go to like stores where they have in bulk like different food items that you could get. Because I've heard like from other people that have gone to college, they've had to do that, and that was like their way of making it through college. Like someone I knew went to college and they ate oodles and noodles like every day. And I'm like, I don't know if I could eat oodles and noodles every day. But this person, they ate oodles and noodles so much too, they got so creative. Like they were doing all kinds of like crazy mixtures and concoctions and all kinds of like food ways to do oodles and noodles differently. I'm like, that's another level of like survival in college. Just being able to do that. So I commend anybody that goes to college and is like has to like say like I can't spend so much money. I gotta do something. I gotta make something that's good and I gotta make something that's efficient in this amount of time. So yeah. Doritos hit different after the pull. A ham and turkey sandwich on white bread too. That is exactly it. Like I don't know what it is, and then you might have like the juice packs, like the Kool-Aid juice packs. I loved those. My favorite flavor was always cherry. It was either cherry or it might have been tropical. And then you had the Capri Suns too. The Capri Suns, you had those. You had the high C. If anybody remembers the high C juice boxes, I believe either it was lemonade or fruit punch from that, or maybe it was Fruitopia. Was it Fruitopia? It was one of those. I believe it might have been Fruitopia though, or then you had the Kool Aid pouches. You had to twist the knob to get it to open. Yeah, and then there were like, what is it? Jerk like they're like supposed to be like barrels, but they're like bottles, and you had to like flip the lid off of them to drink one of them. I forgot what they're called though. I forgot what they're called. Then they had something if you like go to the gas station as a kid, they had like is it bug juice? I think it was bug juice, and it was like a bottle with like a little slim cap on it, and you would have to take the cap off of that, and then you would have to twist the knob on the sip part where you sipped on it to get the juice out. Those are some very interesting times as a kid, like learning how to twist knobs off of stuff. And yeah, yeah, bug juice, that's what it was. Bug juice is always too sweet, I feel. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely way too sweet than it needed to be. I don't even see that now, so they probably discontinued that, probably for a good reason. Capri Suns, yeah. He said, I used to eat Vienna sausages and mac and cheese together. College was rough indeed. Yeah. I've heard, like I said, I've heard about the different, like, food combinations for, like, college kids and stuff. So I can only imagine, like, how rough it must have been. So I almost went to college, too. So I can only imagine what I would have probably done when I was in college. Because I would have had to have found a way to be creative like every day. Because I didn't just want to feel like I was eating the same thing. So I would try to find different ways to make different things. Um, yeah, Capri Suns, loved Capri Suns, especially the, like you said, Panda, the wild cherry ones, so good. Danimals, I do remember Danimals commercials. Cause you had, what was it, the Zach and Cody, the Sprouse twins. They used to be on those. And then they used to be on the yogurt. Was it Gogurt? I think it was Gogurt. The commercials. You had the ones in the little pouch that you took the little spoon and you scooped it out, and then you also had the pouch ones where you obviously slurped it out of the little small pouch things that it would come in too. I know y'all remember like fruit by the foots and the string, it would come on like this like paper, and then it would be like a string that you would have to like pull the candy off, and then the what are they called, gushers, and then they made like the gushers with like the little gummy things you put in your mouth, and they would gush when you chewed on them. um what else do we have? What else do we have? Was it double bubble? Was it what was it called? Not bubble yum. It was like you had like different flavors, but the obviously the pink one was like the more popular one, and it came in like this little small cartridge thing, and you would have to pull out the gum out of the thing. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like double bubble or something like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Goldfish sound good right now. Actually, that's actually funny you said that, because if you want a good suggestion of good goldfish, they have cinnamon roll goldfish, and they're really good. They taste just like the Scooby snacks, and I used to love the Scooby snack cookies that would be in stores, but then they changed them, and now they don't taste the same like they used to. So the cinnamon roll goldfish that they have now, so good. Um, so I would definitely suggest trying those out. Do you remember the Dots candy? I do remember the Dots candy, but I was never a fan of the Dots candy. Bubblicious bubble tape. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because like I said, it would come in like a pink container, and you would have to. It's like tape. Yeah, it was like tape. You had to pull it out, and then you put it on this little piece that would cut the gum off. So yeah. Did you ever have the large goldfish crackers? I did. We had in school. like during like after school programs and stuff like that. Because when I was in high school, we had drama club after school. So we would go to the cafeteria sometimes, and they would have like these large goldfish, like graham cracker goldfish, and they were like in white packaging, and that's what actually reminds me of the cinnamon. It kind of reminds me of those like cinnamon roll goldfish that they have now in stores, but just in a smaller on a smaller scale. But those are really good. Do you guys remember the Chex? It was like Chex yogurt flavored, and I remember I had a whole Chex phase where it's kind of funny now because I don't even like Chex Mix now, but they had like the Chex Mix yogurt flavor, and I would always love getting the strawberry yogurt little crunchy things. Like that was like the best part of that whole thing. Bubblegum cotton candy flavor is goaded. Yes. Yes. That was great. Um do they still have that? I doubt it. They've gotten rid of so many things these days. I doubt it. Like I went to the store the other day to get a Twix bar. Do you know that they've downsized the Twix bars? Like they're not even the same size of what they were before. And I'm like, why? Why are we downsizing candy bars now? Like candy bars are already gone up to like $2, right? So why are we downsizing them even smaller than what they have to be? A Chex phase. Yeah, I did have a Chex phase like for a while. Like I would be so crazy on like just Chex Mix, and then you had the it wasn't Chex Mix. Um, well, it was like Dorito. You had Doritos. You had like hot Cheetos and like a couple other things. I think there was like pretzels in there too that I remember. It was like a party mix of all the different chip flavors. I remember being in that like era too of like eating that. And then I had a hot fries phase until I ate too many hot fries and it didn't agree with my body. So I had to stop eating hot fries. Um, that's a whole story for another time. Um, the 6-7 joke is so repetitive, and I'm sick and tired of people saying it. Yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. But I see the 6-7 thing kind of like how we would all say, what are those? Or like um these nuts, which it's funny because the regular show one of the regular show episodes was they made a joke on like these nuts. And I couldn't believe that they put it in there. But again, that's regular show. They used to put jokes in there like that all the time. 1738. Yeah, 1738. Like that was a whole thing in middle school. Fetty Wap was pretty big at that time until obviously some stuff happened, so he wasn't as big anymore. There was something else that people used to say too. Um, Remember what does the fox say? That was a big thing at the time. My math teacher in seventh grade, like I don't know what it was about what does the fox say. I don't know what it was, but she had an obsession with that music video and that song. Like I just couldn't understand it. People say 21. Yeah, 21. Like that was another one. Um Trying to think what is something else that was like pretty big at the time. You couldn't go a whole week in school without a SpongeBob reference. You know, um because you can never go wrong with the SpongeBob reference. But I remember being in school a lot and just having like every other day somebody making like a Patrick reference or a SpongeBob reference or something. And that was at the time, classic SpongeBob. And I know it's weird because it's like classic SpongeBob. Leedle, 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 lee. Yeah. That, um, obviously, like, is mayonnaise an instrument? Like, all of that was just a part of that was a part of the interactions. And then, every time you got up to, throw away like a trash ball or like a trash, anything that you had to throw in the trash, if you wanted to make it into a hoop, we didn't say Jordan, we said Kobe. Um, and that was like the big thing at the time. I remember people used to in school make like that's another thing I miss. Like we used to take paper and they used to make like these little, I don't know what they called them, but it was like these little things and you would choose a number and they would switch it to it would say like some kind of word or phrase or something on it, right? Because I remember being next to a kid in middle school and he would take paper and he would make origami out of the paper. So like every day he would just have like these paper origami things that he made like just during class and I'm like I asked him one day, I'm like, how are you doing this? Like you like, and I sat there and I watched him just make a whole origami duck. And I'm like, I'm just amazed by it. Like we were really doing all of that in school. Like we were just really so bored in class that we would just make like things out of paper. Yeah, the paper games. Yeah, I had fun with the paper games. I always wanted to make one of those, and I never got around to it. That was kind of like our way of like passing notes too, because passing notes that's always been like a thing, but we kind of did it kind of like almost in like a game. So if you had a girl that you liked in school, you would try to make one of those games and you would hope that maybe she would choose the right number. So if you wanted to ask her out on like a date, she would choose the right number and if she chose number 3, that meant yes. If she chose number 4, that meant no. Like we had all these like different innovative ways to like communicate even if it was like a small interaction, it was still there. I remember back in 2021 people were making the us meme, Among Us meme. I miss those days. Yeah, Among Us was very big during the pandemic, like when none of us could go anywhere, we don't even like we weren't even sure if we were even going to be able to go out anywhere anymore. So when we were all locked down, all we had was movies, TV shows, video games, and video games had a very big rise. I watched a lot of during that time. I watched a lot of video game creators. That's how I met Pandatron. It was during that time because again, we didn't know if we were ever going to go out again. We didn't know if we were ever going to have normalcy, if normalcy is even a thing. um, so for us, it was just like video games. We couldn't go to the movies. Like maybe you could go to the movies, but it was more like movies that were supposed to go to theaters went to streaming. Um, it was a very rough time, and I hope we don't ever in our lifetime I hope we don't ever have to experience anything like that again. Because I tell you, it was a rough time. It was a rough time for everybody. Okay, but why don't people ask you out like this anymore? Like it's so cute. Like we need to bring it back. I that would be cool. That would be cool if we could, bring back like the paper games or some kind of cool thing like that, like the paper airplanes and stuff. Like maybe we'll have to be the ones to bring it back. We might just have to be the ones to bring it back. Even like card games. Do kids even play card games now? Cuz Uno back in the day, Uno in school was like that was our NBA finals. Like everybody sat around the table to play Uno, and you had so many different ways to play Uno. So everybody was asking, "Are we doing all fours? Are we doing train? Are we doing every color? Are we doing all these different ways?" Although Uno did come out and confirm like that's not the way you're supposed to play it. We didn't care about all that. We played it however we wanted to play it, and it was just kind of that's just kind of how we did it. When I rewatched Spider-Man: No Way Home, it kind of felt like a parody at times, especially the interactions with Toby and Andrew and Tom. Yeah, like again, during that 2021 time, during the pandemic, for a lot of people, that was the last movie that they saw. But for me, uh, quite funnily enough, the last movie I had seen before it all happened was Sonic, the first Sonic movie that came out. And I everybody was around that time when the Sonic movie was announced and they showed that first trailer with that Sonic design that was just awful, awful. Everybody said, "You got to change this. We are not having this." And to think now that Sonic movie franchise is now on their fourth movie, when if Paramount had said we're gonna keep the Sonic design we have and you're gonna love it or leave it, could you imagine we wouldn't have gotten Knuckles and Shadow and Metal Sonic and Amy like we're getting now? Because that movie would have not done good if they didn't listen to the people online. And I think that was the first time I think we all could say like the internet like all agreed on something for once. Like, no, this is not the way. This is not the Sonic that we know. And they changed it. Although some could argue the first Sonic movie isn't as good as the next ones that we got after. I still like the first Sonic movie for the campiness. I haven't seen it in a while though, but I still like the campiness of the first Sonic movie. Even if they didn't really, you can tell they weren't really sure what they were trying to do in the first film. But I think there's still a little bit of charm to that, and I think it's because of the controversy with the Sonic design that kind of just it kind of is like one of those things that when you look back at that film, it's like if they had not done this, we wouldn't be here right now. Like we wouldn't be getting all of the Sonic stuff that we're getting now. I still don't like the blue arms on Sonic. That's fair because Sonic is like based off of a lot of the cartoon characters at the time that wore the white gloves and stuff like that. Cartoons back then, had a lot of like inconsistency. So one episode they would be wearing red, not red gloves, like white gloves. Then the next episode they would be wearing yellow gloves. So Sonic was primarily based on that, and I'm sure other elements too. Um, but I'm excited to see Amy. I'm excited to see Metal Sonic. I believe they just wrapped up filming for Sonic 4, so that does come out next year. Very curious to see now, like, what are they gonna do after then? Because you brought in Amy, you brought in Metal Sonic. Who do you bring in next? Like Rogue will probably be next. She'll probably be next. But do we bring in Big the Cat? Do we bring in, Silver? Like I wonder who will be next. I'm very curious. Did you play Extreme Spoons? Yes, I did. Um, Rest in peace to my eighth grade teacher. She had told us about the game Spoons because none of us had played it before that time. I had heard about the game Spoons, but I didn't really play it all that much. Like with my family, we played a lot of Uno, Goldfish, stuff like that, those kind of games. But I had never played Spoons. So she had taught us how to play Spoons in class. So I remember we spent a whole day in her class just playing Spoons. And it was so fun. We all had like a great time with it. Which, to be honest, any day in class that you don't have to worry about doing paperwork, schoolwork, or anything is just already a plus for that class. So um, it was great. Like we had a fun time with it. I had a fun time. So yeah, Extreme Spoons was pretty cool. Phase 10 was another one. Although I prefer Uno more over Phase 10, I still think Phase 10 is cool, but I think I prefer Uno over Phase 10. I feel like with Uno, you just there's so many different ways you can play Uno that I feel like with Phase 10. Now maybe there are some ways that you can play Phase 10 like different ways, but I don't really know them. I'm not really aware of them. But with Uno, it's just like there were so many different ways that you could play Uno. Um, Although there was a one time that an Uno game kind of went too far, and let's just say our school almost had an incident because of an Uno game. I'll just say that, and because of that, I did not go to school on the last day of school because I was afraid that the Uno game was going to turn into the very last Uno game that we would ever play ever again, and I'll just leave it at that. Um, it was a wild story that maybe I'll tell for another time. But yeah. But yeah, this has been fun, you know. I've needed this. Lately it's life has been rough, and I like I said, I just haven't really been focused like I should. Like I should be. And I want to try to bring my attention back to just doing more live streams and having good conversations with all of you because that's where I feel most like I can be myself. Like obviously in my videos I'm myself, but it's really hard to kind of put everything into motion on like a 3 minute to 4 minute video than me just doing a live stream where I feel like I can be more excessive on time. Like I don't have to worry about I have to cut that out or I have to edit that out or I have to like not talk about that specific thing because I'm trying to reach a certain deadline. And now I'm kind of with my videos now, like I'm kind of trying to just say, you know what? If I'm yapping for about 10 minutes on this, maybe I just should just put out the 10-minute version of me yapping about it. Like obviously, if I'm off topic, I'll maybe, substitute that for something else. But if there, if I'm just in the feeling of just wanting to speak on a certain topic for a good amount of time, I think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna do that, and I think it'll be essentially better if I did. So that's kind of where my mindset is as far as like going forward with making content. Um, and I just want to say like I appreciate everybody who has been very supportive of me like through this journey. Like it never goes unturned. It never goes unnoticed. I notice every single person that comes through in the streams, that comments on the videos, everything. Like I notice it all, and I may not comment, instantly, but I'll try to comment at least within that day or at least within that week if I can, because sometimes I'm busy with other things, or I may not just be, to be quite truthful, I may just not be in the mood to answer comments on that day or of that week or even of that month. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. It can be kind of taxing sometimes, but with anything in life, there is a balance of good and bad. So when you're able to just take the good and see that there can be more good that outweighs the bad, then that is what ultimately makes it worth it. And I think it's worth it. Some of you may follow my personal page on Instagram and stuff, and some of you may see some of the things I may say, like based on like some of the things I'm going through or some of the things I'm feeling, and sometimes it may seem like it's coming off like negative or unappreciative, but it's never that. It's um sometimes you have to find a creative avenue to kind of put out those feelings because you don't want to let those feelings bottle up inside and then not have anywhere to put them out. Although you could probably say that social media isn't the best place to do that, and I don't think it is. I don't think it is, and I don't know why I do it. I wish I knew the answer. Um, but that's something that I'd have to look within myself and ask, why do I do that? And then go from there. Obviously, it's not crazy wild stuff, like just stuff going on in my life and just kind of expressing it. So sometimes, people can kind of, from the outside looking in, they can kind of see that and make, assumptions or, make the wrong conclusions about you as a person. Um, and that's normal. We all have had our moments where we've made conclusions or um, had thoughts about things that we were unsure of or not sure why. Um, and context is always a good thing when it comes to things like that. It's always good to have context. So I'd say, like, if someone is going through something in that moment, maybe they just need somebody to talk to. Maybe they just need words of support. Those things matter more than we realize. And so we're all going through something right now. Um, we're all going through life. We're trying to figure this thing called life out, and we're not going to have it all figured out. And that's okay. But as long as you spend every day of your life just trying to be better, wanting to be better for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for the people that you care about, I think it's worth it. Um, so on that note, I want to try to keep working at what I'm working at and keep providing these great conversations, these great moments that we look back on. Like this stream for me is one of these streams that I'm going to go back to and look at just based off of the conversations that we've had about everything. Like mostly a lot of nostalgic stuff from our childhood, but a lot of that stuff sometimes is good to look back onto to kind of give a to kind of give an idea that we're all in the same. We're all in the same. We've all had some of the same experiences in our lives. And I think there's something really cool about that. So, yeah, I appreciate all the support as always. And it doesn't matter. And I'll give a word of advice, and this is advice that I'm going to start taking myself, and I will hold myself accountable for this. That no matter if it's one person in the room, two people in the room, 10 people in the room, 5,000 people, a million people in the room, it doesn't matter the room size. What matters is the moments. The moments will always matter more than the viewer counts. The moments will always matter more than the subscriber counts. And I'm making a mental note of that right now as I'm speaking, just to let my own self know that that's what matters. So, as I always do, because you guys mean a lot to me, just throughout this channel, because 4 years of doing this, for some people, 4 years of doing content creation is, um, it may be small to some, but to people who are inspired, like my friend here, like she's inspired to create content, to someone who's inspired, or to someone who has been doing it, like Pandatron, for years, and Koi Fish Gaming, and Geekly, and all the people that I've met through in this space, DreamHack, and just so many different content creators that I have had interactions with within this space. We're all going through a journey through our own lives, but also through this online life that we've had, that we've built for years, and are wanting to build. And I think there's something really special about that. There's something really, really, really humanitarian about that. I don't know if humanitarian's the right word, but we're gonna use it, for this case. So I want to shout out everybody before we end the stream. I am gonna try to do a stream tomorrow for X-Men 97, and we might also throw some Spider-Man Brand New Day stuff in there too, because there's been a lot of stuff coming out for Brand New Day, and July is getting closer and closer, and I'm very much excited for Brand New Day. I'm very much excited for X-Men 97, and just all the projects, movies, TV shows, games, comics. There's a lot of great things to look forward to, and I know we have so much stuff going on in the world right now, and seeing it, and it's really hard to turn a blind eye from some of the things that are going on. But when you're able to take the time to find a way to escape from all of the harsh things, or all of the things that may be going on in your personal life, maybe it's relationship problems, friendship problems, health problems, whatever it is that you're going through, being able to find an avenue to release all of that anxiety, or frustration, or stress, or worry, or doubt, whatever it is that you may be feeling, it's great to have an avenue. It's great to have people, good people around you, who are a support system where they can support you, and you can do support them in the same way. And it's a community, it's a family, and that's the main goal that I've always wanted to accomplish on this channel since the very beginning, since I've started. When I was small, I barely had a working phone camera. I didn't even know how to do sound control. All of these things, right? When I was doing Cuphead videos, for all the people who remember me from the Cuphead days, to the King of the Hill days, to the Proud Family days, to the Cobra Kai days, to the trailer days, to the Marvel days, all the stuff that maybe you found me from. All of those times where that one video, or that one live stream, or that one short, or that one TikTok was enough for you to find me, to find an interest. It all means so much to me, because that's a part of history. That's a part of your history, and that's a part of my history. And I think it's important that we keep history intact for us to understand, and to remember, and to acknowledge for other generations before ours and after ours, to know that there is a way. You can enjoy life. You can find people. You can have a connection. You can have a community and a family that you can confide in without feeling the need to be judged or the feeling to be cast aside or anything, you know. And that's very important. So yeah, Gigi, me and you, we've been friends for a very long time, and I really hope you do start to create content because I think you would have a great audience, and I think you have a great personality for it. So I really do truly believe that you can do content, and I hope you do. I really do. And I hope anyone who's in this stream who is maybe inspired or maybe they just need that spark, that opportunity to just do it. Do it. You're not going to have the best video. Your first video is not going to be the best video. Trust. Every person that I've talked to, every person that has started YouTube, or maybe even within you being a YouTuber, you understand like your first video is not going to be your best video. But that's the magic in it. That's the charm in it. You evolve and you grow over time, and you reinvent yourself. You reinvent yourself to see that when you look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if you have kids, if you have grandkids, if you have cousins, you can show them these memories. For us, YouTube is kind of like, and throwing it back to the nostalgia conversation, YouTube is kind of like those VHS tapes when you were younger and your parents would, videotape you as a kid, taking your first steps or the first day of school or the school play that you were in or your first football game or your first basketball game, your first prom date. All those memories are all in the same when it comes to YouTube. That first video, that first 10 subscribers, that first 100 subscribers, that first video that blew up, that first short that you did. All of that is a part of your history. And I think that's amazing that we all have some kind of relatability when it comes to that. So I hope that can inspire you to want to try to give it a chance. And if you don't feel like it's right for you, that's okay. It's okay to not feel like this is the space for you. Because not everybody's meant to be a YouTuber or a content creator. But just being able to say that you tried, being able to say that you made an attempt at doing it, I think it's good. I think it's really good, and it shows a sign of growth. So yeah, I say all that to say I'm gonna close out the stream, but before I do, I want to give a shout out to everybody that has come in the stream. We've had a lot of great conversations, and like I said, this is one stream that I will always look back at, especially during my times where I haven't been my best self. So, yeah, shout out to my friend Carson Kelly for coming in. I don't know if you're still in here, but shout out to you for always coming through and supporting. Perfect Peace, shout out to you for always coming through. Keith, shout out to you if you're still here. Anthony, my good buddy Anthony, shout out to you. Inked Bob, I'm sorry if I did ignore you again. Hopefully, if you come back in the next stream, I'll try to make sure to pay more attention so that way I don't miss your comments. So I shout out to you for coming through. Hold on, reconnecting. Okay, Pandatron, shout out to you. Thank you so much for the donations. Again, you didn't have to do that, but I really do appreciate it. Like I said, me and you, we've been friends for years, during the pandemic time when I came into your stream when you were, doing the Cuphead DLC, and the rest is history. And like I said, that's just a testament to all it takes is just one live stream, one video, one short for someone to finally discover you. And now you build a friendship with them over the years, and it feels like you've known them forever, and I think that's really cool. So I'm glad I've been able to know you all these years, and I'm really proud of you and what you're doing, and just keep it up, man. Like I seriously mean that. Keep it up. I'm really proud of you. And then we have Jordan. Jordan, I don't know if you're still here. That Muppet Show revival, I hope we do get it. I think that would be dope. But shout out to you for coming in. Let's see who else we got. Anime Ranker, I don't know if you're still here, but I thank you and Panda for both giving me good anime suggestions to start out with. I will definitely check the ones that you guys listed out. Definitely, I'll check out Avatar Airbender first, last Airbender first, because that's one that I do have some familiarity with. So I'll definitely check that out first, and then maybe Full Metal Alchemist as well. I think that'd be a really cool way to start off that anime venture for me. Um, let's see what else. Who else we got? Uh, I'm not gonna acknowledge that comment, but Neo, I don't know if that's your name. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing good. Let's see, GG. Hey, GG. I'm always happy to have you as my friend. We've known each other for years. Who would have thought that us climbing a mountain would bring apart a long-lasting friendship? Well, it's more like walking up a mountain than climbing, but Stone Mountain. Who would have thought Stone Mountain of all places would have been how we would have met all of these years? But I'm so glad we did. So it's always a pleasure having you. And I really do hope you start your content creator journey. Let's see, is there any more comments? I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Daniel's hotspot. I'm not hotspot. Daniel's hot topics. I really appreciate you always coming through and also commenting and supporting the videos too. Like I always see your comments. I may not be able to respond to them or even feel like it at the moment, but I always do see them and I try my best to. And so you brought a lot of great questions about X-Men 97 Season 2, which we'll definitely discuss again in a separate stream. I don't know if I'll stream tomorrow or Sunday. I'm trying to figure that out. Let me know what day you want me to stream. If you want me to stream tomorrow, I definitely can, and we can talk about X-Men 97 and Brand New Day. I think we could do it tomorrow because I don't believe I have anything going on tomorrow, but we'll see. Um, so I'd love to talk more and chop it up with you about that. Let's see. Any more comments? Caden, my buddy Caden, shout out to you. I'm so glad that you enjoyed Michael. Like I said, that movie's doing really well. I've seen it a couple times, and I can't wait to get the physical edition for that. Because again, I really enjoyed that film. Although I do feel like the film should have had more. I do feel like wish the film would have focused on more moments, and I'm hoping that we get like a director's cut or something with more scenes that we didn't get a chance to get. So that's always something I hope we get. But again, I'm glad to see you in the stream. It's always a pleasure um, having you. Let's see, is there anyone else that I'm missing? Maceo, welcome, Maceo. I love the comments. I know the 6-7 meme is kind of like it's kind of like okay, are we done? Are we 6-7'd out? But I think it's just a sign of the times. Every generation is gonna have their 6-7, their 1738, or their what are those or whatever. It's just a sign of the times. Life in a way kind of repeats itself while also bringing a new way of doing it. So I guess that's like my advice. I understand it can be kind of a lot sometimes, but once you kind of get understanding of that's just how generations are, it won't bother you as much, you know. But I understand the checks phase. I'm still not over the checks phase. Yeah, I did have one. But yeah, I think that I believe that is everybody. So again, I want to thank you all so much for again supporting me, and I've had a really great time, and I hope that if you're seeing this on the replay, I hope that you have a good day, a good night, a good week, afternoon, year. If you're seeing this years from now, in 2030, I hope you have a great 2030. Whenever you see this, maybe in a time capsule locked up somewhere in Chronopolis or whatever a future city is going to be called by that point. Um, thank you. Thank you for just being you. And thank you for just letting me be me. And yeah, I'll see you as well, Macia. I'll see you in the next stream. I'll see all of you in the next stream if you all come by. And even if you may not have the time to, I still really appreciate it when you do. Anime Ranker, I'm about to end the stream. I'm about to end the stream, but I am going to be streaming possibly tomorrow. Possibly tomorrow. So if you want to come back and maybe talk some more anime stuff or some more anime that you're into, let me know because I'm definitely open to kind of hearing like some of the different anime that you like watching or some other ones that you want to suggest to me. I'm very much open to that. Oh, okay. I just came back to say hi. Well, I appreciate you coming back to say hi. I really do. Um, I like I said, we'll try to stream tomorrow. I don't want to fully make that promise and then not do it, but I will say I'm gonna try my best to stream tomorrow. Yo, real quick, you should put JJK on your list. Okay, I'll definitely do that. I'll tune in tomorrow too. Awesome, awesome. I'm so glad. Like I said, I'm actually really excited to get back into streaming again because I've missed it. Quite honestly, I've missed it. So, we will definitely do that. So without further ado, as I always say, thank you so much. If you guys have a dream, if you guys have a goal, do it. Do it better than anything you can ever imagine, and the road of life will take you where you need to go. And yeah, so big love to you all, and peace out. Good night, y'all.